How I Became a Board Game Designer, Part 10. Now this is going to feel... How I Became a Board Game Designer, Part 10. Now this is going to sound really weird to most people probably, but I was very interested in timetabling when I was young. I still quite like timetables actually. And I think the reason for this was that my dad was a head teacher, and once a year, he didn't really trust anyone else to do the timetable. He'd do the whole timetable himself, and it would take him a week to 10 days, and he would do it at home largely in our dining room, and the dining room would be off limits to the point it used to be the room that we would go through to get to my granny's flat. And when it was timetabling week, we had to go outside and through the garden to get to her because we were not allowed in this room. The only time we were allowed in there is if we begged our dad to let us go in and just have a look. And what you'd see in the timetabling room was this enormous magnetic board. I mean, it was huge. I don't know where he got it from. And all these tiny, tiny coloured magnets, strips of magnets, which he could write on in permanent pen or in, I think it was all permanent pen actually, and then he'd take them off and put them in different places. And he was doing the whole of the timetable for a secondary comprehensive school, quite a large comprehensive school in Cambridge. And he'd do it all on this magnetic board. I mean, all the classes, the teachers, I can't even begin to explain what it looked like. I wish I got photos of it. And he was desperately worried, I think, about us children going in there and getting really excited about moving the magnets around on the big magnetic board, as he would be. So he didn't let us go in there. But I loved it. I was drawn to it. So he doesn't know this even now. So if he's watching, yeah, sorry. But I used to go in at night time. I would wait until I knew he was asleep and I'd sneak down. And I wouldn't touch anything because honestly, Dad was a bit scary. So I would never have touched anything. But I just sat there cross-legged on the floor and I'd stare at it and I'd look at all these different bits in different places and all these different magnets, and this really kind of inspired my interest in what does that look like, how do you go about creating that. So I used to create timetables for my toys, and this is a much smaller scale than a whole secondary school timetable, but I'd gather all my cuddly toys in front of me in my bedroom, and I'd say, right, we're going to do schools, we're going to play schools, but I wouldn't be that bothered about doing the actual school stuff. I'd be much more interested in the preparation. I would hand sew books, like little books for my toys to use, like notebooks with piece of paper and all cut up, and then cottons to sewing down the spine. I'd make the whole thing brilliant. I spent a very long time on the timetable, and then I'd get a couple of lessons in, and they're not very responsive, are they? So I wouldn't do any more. And then I'd think of a whole new timetable. It would all be about the timetable. It would, oh no, the teacher's ill. Odina, my little doll, you can't teach anymore. I'm going to have to redo the timetable. Oh no, everyone go out and play while I redo the timetable. That's what I did over and over and over again. I'd set different challenges. I'd have different subjects that had to be done. I'd have different school days. I did have different restrictions on rooms you could use. I don't know why, but I enjoyed this sort of framework within which to operate and optimise the best outcomes for the children in the school. So I think this is very similar to working on a game. It's very similar to kind of optimizing the different components within the game and how they work together, getting the best framework in which to operate. So that is, yeah. And it strikes me that this is actually quite a lot of the same skills that I used when I was creating timetables have gone into, that I use now when I'm creating games, the sort of optimizing different things that work together to come out with different outcomes in the game, and how you can one time do this and another time do that and still get to the same sort of place. So that's all about timetables.